has gotten priced in. So Bitcoin is down. It's actually not a surprise to our clients because Mark Newton, our head of technical strategy, really pointed out the cycles in mid-January that he was targeting 62,000 for Bitcoin by the end of March. So we're actually on our way to 62. But that's not a bearish development. It's just a retracement.
Now, for those of you guys who do not know who Tom Lee is, he is a managing partner at Fundstrat, which is a wealth manager. And over the years, he's consistently been right on Bitcoin and generally the crypto market. He served as JP Morgan's chief equity strategist from 2007 to 2014 before he went on to Solomon Smith Barney and then built out Fundstrat. And what he just shared is actually kind of scary, considering the fact that it's still another 25% down from current levels as Bitcoin sits at $82,000. Now, if you're watching this video, it's likely because you are an XRP holder. But here is why that is so important. This green line is the XRP chart. By the way, right at the tip top here, that was the all-time high on XRP at $3.40. And then right here, we have that same all-time high on Bitcoin into the inauguration at about $109,000. Now, as you can see here, they do trade relatively correlated, which simply means when one dumps, the other dumps. When one pumps, the other pumps, right? Green line down, Bitcoin down. Green line up, which is XRP, Bitcoin up. Then when Bitcoin dumped from about 4% all the way down to a negative 11% for a 15% move, XRP went from negative 1.5% all the way down to negative 26%. Now, in that time frame, when XRP actually garnered some support right here, it actually pumped pretty hard and rallied as Bitcoin rallied just slightly. But generally speaking, you can see they trade quite similar. Again, on the day of Sunday, February 23rd of this year, both dumped pretty hard. And then on the Trump news, both pumped exactly the same. But as you can see from its all-time high, XRP is down currently, and I'll try to get out of the way here, 30.5%, while Bitcoin is down 18%. In other words, there is a high correlation. Risk on asset classes like stocks and crypto both sell into environments where there is uncertainty. In other words, if Bitcoin actually does dump to $62,000 for a 25% loss, it's highly likely XRP is going to do the same and will likely dump more than 25%. Now, what is actually going on? We just had the most bullish news in crypto history. We had the executive order from Donald Trump signed to create a Bitcoin strategic reserve. And the week prior to that, he mentioned that he's going to be adding ADA, XRP, and Solana to a national crypto reserve. But since that point in time, markets have actually continued to dump, and bears are currently in control. So in other words, you really have to pay attention to this next couple of days and arguably the next week on what's going to happen. And what Tom Lee shared is that they are expecting a retrace down to $62,000, which would make sense considering we have a huge range of support right here between the $70,000 level down to the $62,000 level. And when I get out of the way, you can see that a stupid amount of volume has traded in these ranges. The tool on the right hand side is called a VRVP. I do have it customized a bit, but generally speaking, all this means is when you get a big old cliff like this, and then you get this huge U-shaped type pattern or a backwards C, there's virtually no volume traded in these ranges right here, which typically means when you break out above there or break down below these ranges, price typically flies from one cliff to the next. And as you can see here, our next major cliff of support is going to be between the $70,000 level down to the $62,000 level where the majority of interest is. However, as things stand, the line of least resistance is now down, as we not only broke down below this pivot point or range of 92 to 91,000, but we actually got a sell-off right here and here for a second lower high into a new low. And by the way, if I actually pull those wicks off, you can see that this is a textbook intermediate term downtrend. And when I zoom out, even if we broke back down to the $70,000 range or even potentially the $62,000 range, which will drag the rest of the crypto market with it, a level of support between $62,000 to $70,000 may very well be the next higher low before the market actually rallies for some new all-time highs. And so although it might not look perfectly like this, we might get some support in this range and then some play or action between that $70,000 level back up to the $100,000 level before breaking for some new highs. And generally speaking, that would still put us in upwards trending territory for a series, again, of higher highs and higher lows. But if something like this happens, again, the entire crypto market's going to bleed really badly, because a dump down to that level would still be a dump of more than 42%. And that's on a line chart. So exactly where would XRP go, and what catalyst would we need to see in order for XRP to see some range of support? Well, the good news is XRP is currently acting stronger than Bitcoin, but I think the Bitcoin price action is a strong tell of what comes next for XRP, even though XRP seems to be holding up better than Bitcoin because it has a lot of diamond hands. It has a lot of retail investors that are just unwilling to sell and arguably buying up those dips. But as you can see here, this right here would be our pivot point, and we have what looks to be a textbook head and shoulders. This would be your first shoulder. This is your head. This is our next shoulder, and a break below the $2 range down to the $2 range should take us for some new local lows, even though this would also be in a longer term uptrend. So even with some new local lows in a longer term uptrend, some positive catalysts that we would like to see, which will really build some support into lower ranges. And I'm not saying that we are actually going to go lower, but if we break below that $2 range, things aren't going to look too hot for the short term. That said, one of those majors is going to be whether or not the SEC actually drops its lawsuit with Ripple. Many people have been waiting on that because the SEC has taken a 180-degree turn, dropping its investigations into OpenSea, Robinhood, Uniswap, Gemini, MetaMask, and Coinbase. And people are wondering what's going on with Ripple. Why haven't they done that right now? Well, the reality is Ripple might actually be seeking to overturn parts of the ruling that would harm its abilities to offer future securities or raise capital through an IPO, which simply means they've probably already been in talks about reaching a conclusion in terms of a settlement, dropping that appeal, but that would not drop the case from 2023 completely, where they technically sold securities or offered institutional sales, which was considered sales of a security. So that said, Ripple's current stance might not be about avoiding a settlement, but about ensuring that the settlement terms are more favorable to its future growth plans, which is why I bet the SEC has actually already approached Ripple, but Ripple's saying, no, we don't want that deal. We don't want to just pay the $125 million. If you just drop the appeal, that still leaves us in limbo when it comes to raising capital for an IPO. So I think when this happens, we want to watch the price closely and see what actually happens. If we see the price pump really hard, remain at that range where it pumps to, and then go harder, that is a good indicator that that was the local bottom. However, if it pumps really hard on the news or even just slightly, and then all of those gains are clawed back and sold off into, that's an indicator that something is wrong and it's likely going to sell off even further. In other words, there is no amount of positive news that can fight the overall trend. When you're in the ocean, right, and the currents are pulling hard at you, there's no amount of swimming you can do, even if you're a major player in a company like Ripple, to fight the predominant trend. So we just have to pay attention to this type of news closely. This is a major catalyst, and it has the potential to really turn things around for Ripple and XRP. However, it could also be an indicator of what's really going on beneath the surface in the market and whether or not bears remain in control. Another major catalyst, and I actually think this is one of the biggest ones that people are kind of talking about but don't really understand, is the significance between the Ripple and Ondo partnership to bring tokenized US treasuries to the XRP ledger. Now, here is why this is so important. US treasuries are and bonds in general are arguably one of the biggest markets in the world, and debt carry some of the most sophisticated players. That said, they want a better way to trade these things 24/7 with near instant settlement, which was not completely possible without some regulation and blockchain. But now that it is, you need another major player like Ondo to create a partnership using OUSG, which is a fund backed by BlackRock, which has some real weight and institutional significance behind it, as trillions are going to be loaded into tokenized assets, and Ripple is positioning itself at the center of this deal. Now, I believe, and so does Jake Claver, that the entire capital markets will be moved into blockchain because it is far more efficient. And this partnership between Ondo and Ripple, taking advantage of the credibility with BlackRock, will set this thing on fire and bring trillions of dollars on chain, and also create for an environment where a lot of that money finds its way into XRP. Now, here is another reason why it's so important. Ondo Finance recently partnered with MasterCard, and MasterCard is bringing them into their multi-token network, or MTN, as the first real-world asset provider on the network. Again, this is huge as they are focusing on short-term US treasuries and that fund, the OUSG. Now imagine the bond market and partnerships with MasterCard and BlackRock. And then when these players want to sell, what are they going to want to sell for? They're going to want to sell for tokens, or better yet, US dollars in the form of tokens. We call those stablecoins. And there is no better player inside of the Ripple ecosystem than Ripple's very own RLUSD stablecoins. As even from the Ripple X account, they stated that stablecoins are on the rise, with over $220 billion in value circulating. What they need for mass adoption is global regulatory alignment. Already, we're working on that regulatory environment here in the United States as of right now, as even Scott Bessent, the Treasury Secretary, said something extremely important at the Crypto Summit. Let's listen to what he said.
We are going to keep the U.S. the dominant reserve currency in the world, and we will use stable coins to do that.
Yikes, I hope I didn't blow your ears out. Someone put way too loud of audio on that. However, they are planning to make the US dollar the dominant player throughout the world over the next decade. And by the way, stablecoins will help to solidify that, as the majority of markets are currently brought on chain. So yes, although the entire crypto market is down, these are some extremely positive catalysts for the likes of XRP. Now, when you go ahead and look up RLUSD, you can see that they've actually consistently been adding to their market cap and printing more stablecoins as demand grows. The last time we actually looked at this number on the channel, it was about $70 million. Since that point in time, the market cap has nearly doubled, and I expect this to hit many billions of dollars as there is more demand because of the real world assets and treasuries brought onto the XRP ledger. So then how low could we actually go? Even with this type of sell pressure, and yes, by the way, things aren't looking really too hot. Again, if we break below the $2 range down to potentially even this low here at $1.95, as you can see, there's been quite a bit of support here, then it's likely we're going to dump down to at least $1.47. As you can see, there's virtually no volume traded, and I'll go ahead and pull up that VRVP up until this cliff right here. So yes, this cliff is extremely important. By the way, this range is extremely important, but because we sold below the cliff from 260 down to 230, and because this pattern looks very bearish right now, and because Bitcoin has actually broken down even harder and is almost telling the story for us beforehand, The odds are against XRP right now. That doesn't mean go and sell all of your bag. I'm not trying to give you financial advice, but if I remove all of these drawings, you can also see that we're in consistently a bearish trend with the 20 EMA, this orange line, crossing above the 10 EMI and remaining there as the price continues to break down and sell off. In order for the price to now be bullish, we would need to get back above the $2.80 range at minimum, as this right here would put us into bull trend territory. But that said, we are below it. We're below this range. We're below the 10 and 20 EMA. And even when I pull up a weighted moving average, and yes, this is on a daily time frame, this thing is actually beginning to lose its momentum. As you can see, it was really trending hard all the way through the range right into here, but now it's starting to flatline a little. And typically when something like that happens and you're getting a lot of bearish signals and lower lows, we will break down below this WMA, and it's going to be very hard to break back above, considering this is about a 34-week moving average. So although we want to be bullish, and although it's exciting, all of the positive developments in news, again, it's going to be very hard to fight this trend, and it may take a little longer than we would have expected. It may even take through the summer and into the next October, November, and December for markets to really recover and rally. But our next major range of support would go all the way back to these 2021 levels, back at about $1.10. As you can see, there is more support right here, and arguably the majority of the support is at that 64-cent range. But since I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon, my next major range of support is at about $1.50, and then my final range of support is at about $1.10. And some key indicators that we're actually getting quite a bit of sell pressure, and one of my favorite indicators that there is some serious either profit taking or capitulation, and I would argue this is institutional profit taking, is these consistent bars or red bars that are growing in terms of their size and magnitude. As you can see here, 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 and now here, with more red days recently than green days. Every single green day typically is way smaller, except for obviously the Trump pump on the fact that we were going to add it to the strategic reserve. The problem with this Trump pump, however, and the retail FOMO is that it was actually clawed back and sold right off into. And so this leads me to believe that this was the last hoorah or rally for quite a while. If we held this range right here on some support and continued to rally, then that would really be true to the strength of the Trump pump. But because it was mostly clawed back, and now we're back into levels that we haven't seen or saw before the Trump pump, this leads me to believe that this volume right here, these red bars, are actually telling the true story. This was a retail pump, but the rest of it is majorly or predominantly an increase in selling. And I believe we'll probably get bigger red bars over here with a few green ones, right, for dip buyers, but dip buyers don't seem to be in control. And again, when I go ahead and look at Bitcoin, and you really do want to pay attention, we are actually below that exact same range on XRP. And because they trade so highly correlated, and because Bitcoin is currently down below that WMA, things are not going to look too hot for XRP at the same time. Now, if you want more technical analysis and live calls where I share this stuff inside of our community before we do on the channel, and actually share so much more value on platforms, on charts, on fundamental analysis, and everything you need in terms of tools, training, and resources to reach your crypto goals, whether that's to become a multi-millionaire in crypto or simply to get out of your job, whatever the case may be. Now, the reality is we can't guarantee you any results, but I can guarantee you this is bar none the best platform on planet Earth when it comes to crypto training. We call it Altcoin Pro University, and you can find it in the link in the description below, bullrunners.com. You can watch this video to find out what you get on the other side. But on the other side, not only do we have a group or 1,100 paying members to be here, which means they're taking their portfolios and crypto very seriously, but we also have a team of experts and researchers that share all sorts of altcoin picks, DeFi yield farms, airdrop alerts, and so much more. If you don't want to miss out on those bonuses and you want to take advantage of this or at least check it out, go to bullrunners.com. And on Tuesdays, I am now hosting a live calls only for our community members, and I share everything. We have how-to guides. We have when to sell and when to buy guides. We have guides on protecting your assets, not getting rugged, taking advantage of narratives, and so much more. So thanks so much for watching the video. Be sure to check out bullrunners.com. I will see you in the next video, my friend, and be sure to subscribe as well. Goodbye.